ring. Taking over for the kingdom. Put that on your ring. Taking over for the kingdom. Put that on your ring. Taking over for the kingdom. Put that on your ring. Taking over for the kingdom. Put that on your ring. Taking over for the kingdom. Put that on your ring. Taking over for the kingdom. Put that on your ring. Taking over for the kingdom. Put that on your ringtone. So every time the phone ring, they know that the spot's blown. They know that the game's on. They know that the game's gone. Took it like you was a kid and I was a man grown. Possess your land and take all your goodies like David. Coming in, we ain't wearing no hoodies. Let's raid it. God the Father, Christ the Son. Star players on the team. We already won. Everything you got, you had it on rental. Now devil, I want it back and you can keep your dentures. Mirror, mirror on the wall. I ain't asking you a thing.
Hello everybody, this is DJ BYP Pipper. If you love what we're doing on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to our channel, make sure that you like us, and make sure that you share our page with somebody else.
Looking for me, I'll be somewhere chilling in the world.
All right. Welcome. We're doing a Presonus IO Workstation 24 Pro, pros and cons at a glance. And the main emphasis is going to be as a live mixer, and we're going to give you an overview of everything in a minute as we break down what it means to us in the studio. We are currently in the studio right now, just a FYI. So obviously you see we have the Rane 72 MK2 and the 12 MK2 set up. Our configuration that we got set up right now, and what you're hearing is the IO Workstation right now as a mixer. Before I take you through, we're not going to go through visually because the way I have it set up, I don't have it where the cameras can see every detailed angle, but I'm going to break it down to you how we have it set up. But before I do that, let me explain the scenario of what brought us here. All right, first, we typically use a Mackie, and we use the Mackie Pro FX 8 V2. And so the Mackie currently is going to be going to the shop. And it's going to be going to the shop because it has a slight feed over error that randomly occurs on it. If any of you guys watch the channel, we have a few video feeds, maybe one or two, that you can hear some static in the background. That's actually coming from the Mackie. And so anyway, long story short, we use the Mackie to give you a configuration setup, audio, because we're not doing a visual. We use the Mackie to pretty much control OBS, which is how we're broadcasting right now, how you see us live, and how everything is coming to you. So the audio feed typically is fed via, if anybody that knows about the Mackie, it's a USB interface, so we can actually use that as a digital audio phase, and it can be used in a number of ways of studio equipment, and so forth. All right, so one of our basic setups is we have a couple of configurations. So we usually run through the Mackie to run through the computer, and the Mackie is controlling all the audio. So we can do anything with the Mackie as far as the audio. We'll run the Rane through the Mackie through the computer, and the Rane pretty much has everything set up. We're going to do an intense review on the Rane too, and we're going to touch up a few things on how I'm using that, so DJs that may have this setup, you can have a real nice layout, and we're going to get into how basically, like I say, the emphasis is going to be as a live mixer, because we have to temporarily replace the Mackie. Now, the reason, let's give you a reason why we got the IO station in the first place. We wanted it extra. Remember, I told you the Mackie is a sound card. So the Mackie is used as a sound card. You can record into your DAWs, etc. We run Cubase predominantly, but I work with a number of DAWs throughout the years. But however, Lively on my system, on the system that we're on right now, we run Cubase 13 Pro. So with that being said, we initially got the ioWorkstation as a setup so we could pretty much, have a fader port studio DAW. So one of the things it's known for, the ioWorkstation 24, is a combination. It's a sound card and it's a fader port, and it works perfect. I'm gonna give you a brief overview. Let's go over some of our notes first. As a live mixer, the 3 setups is going to be running OBS Studio, Rane 72 MK as you see here, and that's pretty much the live setup. What you're hearing right now would be the same setup that we would do if we were going to pretty much go and to a concert venue individually as a DJ, not plugged up to, like, say, a sound system. If we was coming in that format just as a DJ, we have our full controls. All of my mics, I have 2 mics. Obviously, on the Rane system, you got 2 mics. I have a studio mic. This is a studio mic setup. So I got a preamp built in, customized into my Rane casket layout, which brings that mic into the Rane system and then into whatever audio interface, mixer, etc. that you're using. In this case, right now, it's the Presonus, and the Presonus is pretty much that layout. So, also, just so you can get I want you to get a broad view of all of these working components. One of the things that I look at on a lot of videos, our main subject is the ioWorkstation. However, what I don't see, which I'm going to try to do for you guys, is emphasize everything that we currently have set up, so you can have an understanding. So anybody that has this similar setup, I can let you know how you can maximize this whole scenario. So again, basics. We got the Rane going into the ioWorkstation, and the ioWorkstation connected via USB-C cable to our computer. ioWorkstation is currently working in threefold technically right now. It works as a live mixer where I can use live mixings. Via the software on the laptop, we got OBS, which is what's allowing us right now to broadcast to you live. OBS is our studio format for broadcast right now. So that's our kind of like TV program. How you see our channel and the layouts and stuff like that, where we're broadcasting from and so forth. All right, aka brief plug, shout out, Wynwood official DJ, aka Miami's official DJ. For your latest in top 40s gospel and so forth, on our station, Miami 100 Degree Radio, which you're listening to right now. We're doing a review on that channel. So, with that being said, of course, I got to mention our sponsors, which is ID Productions, LLC, and Buriquele Vegan, which is a catering, Puerto Rican, Asian catering company. Those are both of our major sponsors that bring to you this video and supply us, with the financial backing, the executive backing, to be able to bring this to you. Also, we got other sponsors. We shout out to all of our subscribers. If you like what we're doing and you're not a subscriber, make sure you subscribe to the channel via our plugin. That's how we grow. That's how we can do more for you. I love doing these. However, at the end of the day, it's all about what you guys want and what you guys make look good. If you guys blow this up and add your comments into the comment section. If you got any questions about this, I can elaborate more, but we're going to try to cover a nice little basis as we walk through this. All right, so that's our shout out plug up. So as a again, forefront, Rane mixer going into ioWorkstation going into the computer, and the computer, everything else is controlled within that facet via software. In this case, we got OBS running our studio session right now. Now, that's what we're set up currently on, and that's what you're currently seeing. However, in a larger overview, we have Rane going into ioWorkstation, going into PC, and then we also run Cubase 13 on there. So again, let's go back for a second. Purpose, reason, because you need to know the reason, and then I can let you know, and I can comment a little bit above that reason, what benefits this ioWorkstation can do for you, and is it worth it overall, you know, and then a few pros and cons as we go down the list and so forth. All right, so as an OBS broadcast, if you have multiple ends in any facet on your desktop or laptop, whatever, your PC or Mac, whatever you have laid out in general, you can use any one of those things. And this is why we're able to continue to do what we're doing while we have a redundancy going on, since our Mackie is having issues. Mackie still works fine. We've had it for ages and decades. So Mackie is a old freight train that is just now kicking in to some error feedback over several years. So I would say Mackie was well worth its weight and go, well paid off its price. I think at the original time, this was around when I think we had that thing since it first came out, or at least maybe no less than a couple of years afterwards. All right, the ioWorkstation, we've been running that for about a good year, but again, we got it for studio. So I got it predominantly for Cubase as a DAW runner, so I can be able to do live automation, things like that. Now, before we get into each subject, I'm gonna just cover the basic, and then I'm gonna flow through each platform as best we can in maximum format of what those platforms and what it can do within those platforms that we've experienced live, that we've actually tested and ran with. All right, so first, let me just go through some of the notes. All right, as a mixer, again, we running OBS, Rane, and then we also and it was a replacement for the Mackie. The Mackie was running to OBS as an audio interface, and that's what we was coming from. Now we're currently running the ioStation. The ioStation is our main setup in this studio environment right now. All right, with that being said, I have to take you to the Rane first to let you know some of the dimensions. Anybody running the Rane, you're gonna love the configuration. Yes, everything has limitations, but I'm gonna try to focus stronger, especially on the products that's not at focus, because the Rane is not at focus. But I'm gonna give you I'm gonna give a shout out to Rane, which I also give a quick shout out to Rane. Their support is outstanding. We've shouted them out when we did a review. Check out our review on the Rane layout. And we'll probably do a more extended one since we've been messing with it for a couple of years now. This is their pretty much the latest version of the flow out. They haven't made anything new as of yet. I'm sure they're gonna try to, because they now Pioneer got a nice little combination going on that's like killer, but the price is also killer on the Pioneer. So that's a whole nother ballpark, and we'll probably do a surface review on that later. All right, so with the Rane, again, remember I told you setup, we got the two turntables that are already naturally configured into Rane. System is fully integrated that I have set up. There's nothing that I have that's a Frankenstein mix. And what we mean by that, this system actually, this is all the top system that comes together with the Rane that you can buy as a bundle. That being said, you can mix and mesh this up. You know, DJs have live turntables that they actually literally have needles and everything else that they want to combine with this system. Awesome system. We're not going to focus on that. So we are running predominantly, we're running our turntables into the Rane. It's a 2-channel mixer. And from that 2-channel mixer, we also have 2 mic. Now, right now, I'm currently running off of this 1 mic and not my extended mic. The extended mic, we run a wireless mic. And that way we can do multiple events, like say if we're at a engagement or an event, we can run that second mic for the guests, the host, to do their toast or, you know, whatever you need to do within that setup. Now, with that being mentioned, let's mention this. With the Mackie, obviously you already know we have a completion of 8 channels that we can run different things. We can come stereo in with the Rane to 8 channels. However, we don't need to, because I have the mics set up through the Rane. Now, with that being said, I want you to understand the Rane, for those that don't know, this Rane system is also technically a sound card and can be used as a multi-input sound card. That is one of the things that we're going to do on a separate interview. It can also be used as a drum machine as far as the pads. That is very complicated, but we're going to get into that later. So the reason why I'm giving you this layout of everything that we got going on is so you can get a understanding that the Presonus IO workstation, which let's just go to a slightly different view. Let's go to our live view right now. And that being said, the Presonus IO workstation pretty much is simple. It is not one of their most elaborate, complex, such as the I think it's called the Studio 64, which is a beast. That is more of the future vision that we want to go to replace the Mackie, Studio 64, and the same reason that we have everything set up right now is why we want to go into that. And one of the things about that one, you have multiple simultaneous channels within that. It's the same thing. It's a sound card, built-in sound card, but it's not only these, these 2 channels that you have set up. Obviously, you got a foot switch, which we're not currently using, but we will use. Because it's a very convenient. I have 2 keyboard foot switches that I can use. One is for the keyboard, which, by the way, let me also give you an update on the Rane system that's going into the IO workstation. So our keyboard, our main studio keyboard, is literally running through the studio session, the session input on the Rane as a as live audio when I want to use the actual live sounds. The keyboard that we are using is a Yamaha P125, and it has beautiful sounds. Even though, like I say, in the studio we're using digital keyboards all day long, and we have like an endless array of music where that's concerned. However, the piano, the grand and the electric piano is like a Rhodes. It's beautiful, even though we have the original Rhodes digitally on our Cubase platform via software. However, it's beautiful if I want to use that live audio. So I can actually literally use the use the keyboard live sounds, or I can use it as a controller, keyboard controller, which is also used as both, and predominantly as a controller. However, that's running through the Rane system, FYI. Initially, what I would have done, and one of the other configurations that you could do is I would have ran it through the Mackie. Now, pointing out the let's go back to the IO workstation for a second. Pointing out the inputs, you are limited. You have two mic inputs, which is technically you have a stereo channel going into the IO workstation. So that is what we would consider one of our cons. Is you got a limitation of your input outputs, but then again, you got to understand this price has come down. This device actually was initially about 300 when it first came out. So this right now, like at a 200 price mark, and you get this combination of what they're saying right now, because this is actually Presonus website that you're looking at right now. That's actually awesome because that's $100 less to get a sound card and a fader port that can literally run through each channel of your mixers. And like I said, we'll get into a little bit more than that when we start talking about the Cubase effect combination with the IO workstation. Right now we're on the Rane side. All right, so with the Rane side, okay, the Rane is our stereo channel. So the output, the two main outputs, which are XLRs, are going into our mic ins, line in input. As a mic input, stereo out from the Rane. So every signal that we have coming from the Rane, which in this case as individual devices, is the Rane itself and its full compilation, meaning the turntables and the mixer, in addition to our Yamaha keyboard, live audio sound. So I can run the live audio sound when I want to literally live play or live record the actual sounds that come from the Yamaha input. Now, our outputs are going into our, in this case, our studio system, which would also go into the house system, which is your speaker setup. So right now in the studio, which you cannot see, however, we have a Mackie system set up. We use between the Mackie system and several other speaker configurations for system configurations for different events that we will have set up. Now, with that being said, let's just take a little basic overview. And so we have the Rane. And again, so you have a stereo left and right coming from the keyboard. So we got a full stereo sound to get that full stereo sound coming from the keyboard. But this is going into the Rane system like a mixer, which is awesome for that extra channel. You can also set up separate turntables, but you can only run two simultaneously because you only have two channels. So you got a stereo channel. So that's our stereo channel for every for all the configurations that we got. So we got a stereo channel going in here, which means we're running multiple stereo outs. You got the stereo outs left and right for each side of your mixer and your fader port. That whole configuration is going into our IO workstation, which gives us the capability of running that stereo channel into our system. Now, with that being said, we're going to leave off the Rane for a second, now that we're going to that. And let's go over to, I'm going to start explaining to you the studio configuration that's both related from the Rane to our software or our DAW setup, which is Cubase. All right, so this is why we have a studio mic coming through the Rane. And for those that don't know, you do not have to run a studio mic. Rane is clean, the audio is clean, and you can run it on there. However, we run a studio mic because if we're doing small production or a live production, we have the ability to run the condensed mic with the preamp before that, which means in this case, logically, we don't have to use the preamps and the Presonus, because our studio mic with the studio sound and a crisp sound coming out of the sound card of the Rane goes into our stereo channel on the IO workstation of the Presonus, which means we got crisp studio recording in a studio environment where, you know, you can cut your sound, and so forth. So all of this goes in to the Presonus and then comes out of the Presonus into our DAW, which in this case is Cubase. And in our descriptions, you can check out the descriptions. In the description, we'll have a list of basic setups for both OBS and for Cubase DAW users. And the reason why that's so is because one of the things I found when I was looking for extra information, excuse me, when I was looking for extra information, it was hard to find. And then later on, Presonus, I had to talk to some Presonus techs about that concept, and then I put in a collaboration of how to best do that setup, some of the features that you can run, and so forth from the IO workstation on the Cubase DAW, which we're going to get into some of that. That's also pros and cons. Okay, so with that being said, now you understand in theory, which is practicality for us, but in theory, and the reason why I say theory is because I can't visually show you that because I don't have everything set up to show you. I want you to get more full understanding of how this IO workstation, what it can do for you, and is it worth it for you? And we'll talk about that a little bit later down the line in our comments. All right, so functionality. Functionality as a audio card, it is precision audio. It's a great device. We'll also get into some of the descriptions of the technicality, the readout, which is also found on the Presonus. So we're not gonna extend the comments too much of some of the technicality because I haven't written out all of the layout, but we'll get all of that stuff added in our description when you take a look at the description. The instructions and what pretty much this Presonus comes with, and the link to their original channel of what you get. Now, we're here to talk about the practical side of it. Again, practicality. Understand where we came from. This is currently replacing our Mackie 8-channel mixer, which means we can't do everything that we could do with the Mackie because the Mackie has multiple ins and stereo out. So it has a single stereo out that you can record from. You can split your channels by recording into your DAW via music, by muting the channels and then using separate, like for an instance, all of the inputs I got going into the Rane, the keyboard, etc., that can separately go into the Mackie. So that's one of your pros and cons with using or running the IO workstation as a live mixer. I have not. This is why we're doing this review. I have not seen any reviews on the IO workstation as a live mixer, which is why we got this in our title. We want to let you know that what you're hearing even right now is running as a live mixer. I can separately control my inputs. I have everything to a nice precision setup, so I don't have to change a lot of stuff when I'm doing things. The way I have it set up right now, literally, I have my audio going in where I can record my audio at maximum capability. Like say if I'm laying vocals, whether it be vocals or a rap track or something like that, to a production that was done in the DAW system of Cubase, and that's fine. Now, brief commentary. Let's go with pros and cons related to the DAW side, because it's real simple from the Rane point of view of a live studio. You got a stereo in, you got your channel, you can mute your channels live. So this is the same feature. You don't lose that coming from a mixer platform, like I say, where, you know, if you're a DJ, typically you might have carried a separate mixer with you. Some people tie their system in. Me being a sound engineer, we highly recommend mixers in whatever format that you have, because you want to have that separate control. That way you want your whatever your output devices, say if I was running as a sound engineer for another DJ, I would take that other DJ's stereo output, like in this case, and then I would run it through, again, whether it be a full mixer or whether it be a digital I/O workstation, like what we have right here. Excuse me. So, with that being said, I can control. I would have them maximize their volume. So, you know, the good thing, being a studio engineer first before PA engineer, because I started in the studio, and then I also worked live events. Not just because I done it, I'm gonna say that's probably the best experience you can have, because anybody that knows studio engineers, we believe in 100% clean. You cannot get 100% clean PA. But if you have that mentality, if you come from a studio background and you go PA, you probably have a better engineer than you do coming from a PA engineer trying to go to the studio. Because you learn, as a PA engineer, you learn the dirty techniques of how to try to keep, you know, your atmosphere as best as possible, and you compromise a whole lot in that phase. If you take that studio skill, studio engineering, where you have a controlled environment, you have controlled sound, you have soundproof environment and things like that, you are coming from a precision background where you understand a lot more, because it took a lot to create that sound environment. And it's not just the physics behind the sound environment, but it's how you set up also. So you take that same setup, you go into an outside environment. Now you have the elements. So we're going to have the trees, we're going to have the wind blowing, we're going to have all kinds of other stuff going on in the studio environment. There are ways and things you can set up to better make that proficient. And like I say, you're not going to think about that, maybe from what I know growing up and talking to PA engineers who didn't have studio experience. You're not going to have that same experience going outside. So as a side note, coming from a studio engineering background, you're going to be much more crisp. So with that being said, as a live mixer, only thing that we're doing is we're taking this stereo signal, which is our main signal in this case, going into the I/O workstation. Mic sounds, whether we're DJing or whatever we're doing in that matter, and that sound is now coming into the laptop, which is now going into either a live format or a studio format. In this case, we're in a studio format right now, so you'll have that sound going on. You'll have whatever you have working in the background, such as your compression, your gate, your limitation, things that help make your sound sound a whole lot more cleaner. Now, with that being said, let's just talk about the I/O workstation as in general on the DAW level. So anything less than going full-fledged multi-channel DAW, this is probably one of the best workstations that I've worked with, the I/O workstation, as a stereo channel, as a single stereo channel. Like I say, you're limited. You only have those two outputs. You can create additional outputs with an extra sound card, like say a multi-channel sound card. However, based on the prices and plus Presonus, when you compare high-end professional, we work with all kinds of systems, studio systems, ranging from some of the top tier systems that are used between studios, video studios, and live production as an overall. So with that being said, this I/O workstation, I do highly recommend, and I say its pros way outweigh the cons. The cons are really just side notes. So, case point example, again, you got a stereo output. That's all you got. That's a con. Anybody dealing with music, production, in this case, where you're running a DAW or you're running multiple channels, and say I wanted to run more than just the Rane and something else, that's your limitation. You're limited to that. Now, if you jump up to any of Presonus's higher level, from the 32 to the 64 Studio Live, it's a done deal at that point, because now you've gained a full-fledged mixer where you can go, your IOs, your ins and outs are ridiculous at that point, and you can have everything set up separately, individually, and you got all of that meshing to a digital format, so you regain your mixer. So in game for us, for an example, is eventually I'm going to replace that Mackie altogether with something like a 32 or a Studio 64. Probably we want to go with that Studio 64 because the price difference is not that much to gain a little bit more channels off of that, couple of thousands of dollars for that system run, and you have the whole world at that point. You got all your inputs, and all of this stuff is going into the computer at this point. So if you got a nice powerful computer setup, you really have a nice configuration. However, we're not doing a review on the 32 or the 64 right now. I want to. Presonus, let me know if you want to send me say the 64. Send me the 64. We will kill that review. So with that being said, that's pretty much the pros. You're limited to that stereo output, but let me tell you how you benefit. So the pros, again, like I say, outweigh the cons for the price mark and for what you can do. You got clean sound. That's number one. You got clean sound. You can go into at multi-bit rated. I think this one, I think it's has a 64 bit. All the details will be in the description. I'll include that later. I didn't write that up, so I don't have that in front of me right now. However, with this IO workstation, again, when I'm doing my miking, I'm fine. Coming from the DAW, now let's talk about how it benefits you better from the DAW side. In the DAW, you have all of your production. All you need is your controller, your keyboard controller, and I got my keyboards, I got synths, I got bass. I can play my full band setup, from the keyboard, which means I don't need all those outputs, ins and outputs, to be able to do a live studio, and I'm limited to that. That's what I would be able to do had I have, when Presonus wants to send us donate us a 64 live studio. I'll show you then the setup where you can actually have external and internal devices coming in. So say if I wanted to set up this same setup and I had a 64 live and I was out in a concert environment and something like that, I could literally run sound for the house at that point. I could run sound for the house. I could record that sound, and I could even record multi-track at that point to mix later in my DAW, and then I can go into my DAW, and then I can add more tracks to that by production over the production that was done live, and then you're absolutely killing everything at that point. Presonus, talk to us. Let's get that 64. Even if we get it, just send it to us temporary. But I'm sure when you see the review, you would love to just donate it to us. So anyway, the IO workstation internally works a better deal for you, because the only thing that you lack, the difference from the 64, other than the inputs, is the fact of being able to control multiple channels or go to your channels very quickly without having to shift and cover those features. Let's talk about one of the things that's not mentioned often, because when you go to the Presonus website, it gives you a layout, and they give you certain instructions on different ways and different configurations in the software that you could literally actually set up to configure your actual IO workstation with your DAW system or with different DAWs. And like I say, our case, we're coming from Cubase 13. So with that being said, overall, Cubase 13, most common functions, necessary functions that you need, you can run all the necessary functions that you need. There's a few cons on that, and one of the cons is you don't have full control separately right now unless they do an update later that gives us that capability with Cubase. With its native, which I forget what, I'm sorry, I'll put it in the description. Presonus comes automatically with one of the softwares. I never use their software because I've always used the other high-end DAWs. Which not saying that Presonus DAW is not high-end, but I never came across that in the studio. We run everything from Pro Tools, Ableton, Logic, and Cubase are the dominant DAWs from over 20 years of studio work within equipment. Anything minus those, it was SSL boards, fully integrated SSL boards, built-in compressor gate limiter channels and stuff like that. Now what you can get on your digital platforms like 64 Live and other digital mixers that you can get right now. But the SSL board killed everything else back in the day, but you know that was a total money difference. At this point now, we can do all of that stuff, do all of our compression. I can do all of that stuff built into the DAW systems now within itself, and all of that stuff, all of those things and options come with your DAW systems. Now, with that being said, like I say, with this IO workstation, you can control your general functions. Your you can control your start stop. Obviously, you can facet your channels. That is the predominant link. There's a couple of other features. There's some click links on there, but some of the functionality buttons are limited. And I mean, you can also control your mutes, your arms, your mutes, some of your bypass, depending on the way that you're actually connected to your DAW. So you can control that. So you don't have 100% fully integrated features in there. But let me let you know from a surface what I work with. Again, your controller. If we go to, let's go back here to our live view. All right, so your controller. Your controller versus your inputs, your controller, you have all of these features. So we'll go through the list. You can solo, you can mute, you can arm. You have some shift functionality. You have a little bit of bypass functionality. You got some write functionality. And read functionality. You can control that, which is some of the main points within your DAW. Those are the things that you need. That way you don't have to always go and touch your DAW. Now, what enables some comfortable functionality within the DAW of using the IO workstation is when you have split screens. So for those that have split screen set up and you're not just running from your PC screen, you might be running from TV screens or split screens. You can actually separate your DAW screens, such as your mixer layout, which is going to be good to have your mixer layout separate from your audio layout. Those are the two major layouts that are predominantly used to be separated. And then also you can have plug-in layouts, which is a whole nother nice feature. But that's in a more elaborate video setup that you can set up with any DAW and so forth. But I say that to say when you're running an IO workstation, you basically it's not a lot. This is what you're looking at. This is what you're looking at all day. This layout right here is what you're looking at all day, and it's real straightforward and straight to the point, and that's not a whole lot. You can control your input levels. Once you got your input levels set, if you have basic setups, which this is a basic setup, so you're going to most likely have a basic setup, and it's not going to be a whole lot going into it, so you can pretty much leave everything where it is, and you don't have to change it a lot. Now, in some cases where you might want to change it, you might want to change your mix input and your out input. However, I had mine usually balanced right in the center, where I can combine between both, and I can hear between both. And you can also mute your channels when you're doing, like, say, mic recordings or laying vocals and things like that, and you're coming out of your headset at this point. So you're not getting your studio feedback from the audio in any case when you want to, if you're not set up in a full-fledged studio environment where you got a separate booth, things like that going on, which you could also have a patch panel if you wanted to. Like, say, when you come home to your studio environment, you can have a patch panel set up, so when you plug your audio up, or in your DAW system, and you have an IO workstation, you can just straight come from that stereo or any stereo channel into this IO workstation from your studio environment, and it'll give you the same scenario as what we have set up in the studio, which basically is our layout from the Rane, which means basically we go from the stereo out in the Rane. So this is where our mic is, and this is how we have everything set up, and that's that. That's pretty much, in a nutshell, your DAW function. It's not a whole lot to talk about until we come back to, like, say, a 32 or 64 review of the 32 live or the 64 studio live. Then we can have a conversation that can go on for days. At least we'll definitely have a 2-hour plus video, because I'll take you guys into a navigation, and that way we'll set up the studio video where you can see channel for channel, input, output, your separated functions of that. But as a IO workstation 24C, it's straightforward. It's a beast for audio card. It's really a go-to in the industry, and reason why I say it's a go-to in the industry, because when you compare what you can get some multi-channel ins and outs. I mean, I think even we're on the channel right here. Let's see. Let's take a look real quick at the live, and let's see. Audio interface is, I think even Presonus has, aside from their big, the big boys. Yeah, like this one right here. So they got a 18C, which looks like a 4-channel mixer, possibly a different type of 4-channel mixer. Let's see. This one looks like a stereo built in. It almost looks like a stereo built in with a gate limiter compressor. Let's just take a look at that real quick. Oh, so okay. So you got so you got a audio card. Presonus got a couple of audio cards like this, the 1824C, where you can have a multiple out. And look at the price difference. All right, so for an example, this is $500 versus $200. The difference is the moment that you're coming with an audio card like this without a full controller of that, you're working in straight DAW mode. And when you're working in straight DAW mode, then that means your audio card is just doing what it does. Now I can mic a band, like a small band. I can mic maybe a couple of drum pieces, a couple of stereo keyboards, guitar, bass on an individual channel, and I can go in simultaneously to record, a small band, but that's going to predominantly be used in a studio environment and not a live environment. That's the difference between actually having a interface such as the IO workstation, or the bigger ones like the 32 Studio Live 32 and the 64 Studio 64, where right here this operates as a live mixer, and I want to make that emphasize very clearly. The difference of you having this as a live mixer versus just as a audio card, which means as an audio card, it's out of sight, out of mind, except when you need to run your inputs, like say from a small patch panel where you're running a small band inside of those devices. Now, we'll just briefly let's go and try to find one of their big boys real quick. Probably going to be in a different category, I'm guessing. All right, let's go home. Presonus. All right, Studio Live. Yeah, let's go to the big boys. Just want to be able to see a couple of basic setups. Hardware. Okay. Give me let's see. Boom. All right, so we just cover just from this visual right here. All right, let's go back to live. And so just coming from that, from this live setup, you have these multiple channels. So just imagine the IO Workstation 24 magnified, and you have all of these at your disposal live. So now, in the same setup that I got going on right now, say the Studio 64 replaces the IO Workstation, I still have the capability, not just a sound card, but I have a live mix capability to control multiple inputs from a live PA format or a studio format. And again, you can switch between both, or you can combine between both and use both of those. So that's the very important difference versus just having a sound card. Excuse me. So just having a sound card separates that big difference between us being able to do what is AKA known as a live mix. So with that being said, that pretty much sums up our overall. Let's go over some notes real quick, make sure that we didn't mix anything. So as a live mixer, minus the fact you can't run, all your EQs are going to be run either from an external source, because you don't have the actual mixing channel except on the Studio 32 and 64. Studio 32 and 64, you literally have access to literally EQing your mixes live and studio, pre-studio and post-studio. So you can literally, like if we were going back to the Mackie mixer setup, we literally can do our EQ. We can do a couple of effects that's built into the Mackie effects, things like that. Well, with the Studio Live, you have that capability. That changes the game versus right now, this is a live mixer just for audio balance, for my signal. I can control my volume output to the house in a PA environment from here. In this case, we're in the studio. I can control that output from this environment, which everything is already set. We're running the compressor gate limiter in the background, so you know it balances out our sound, and that's pretty much what you have with that. Now, as a fader port, again, you're limited. So again, one of the both pro and cons with the IO workstation is I'm limited to being able to lively, as a mixer, only control my volume in, my volume out, from the stereo channel. I can run my headset from the mixer. That way I can cue what's going on. However, if I'm in a live such situation like this, I don't need to, because I can also run my wireless headset straight to the mixer. I also could run it there. You can run it in multiple ways. This is, I forget the model of this, but we did a review on this. There will be a link in the bio right there, or one of those places. Depends on where I want to put it. It's going to be up there. Link in the bio on this device, but it's a wireless headset. It has a very slight delay, but check out the review on it, and you'll get the full details on that. However, that being said, again, most of my queuing is going to come from this. So the Rane system, going back to the Rane for a second, the Rane system is actually doing a combination. The Rane connected to the IO workstation gives me a combine of effects, channels. I mean, we're only using basically 4 channels. So 2 mono mics, studio mic and a wireless mic, and our 2 DJ channels, and any other session channels like the keyboard, for an example. Let me see. Just power that up for a second. And I can come up my session button. And that's coming straight through the Rane mixer, literally. So, and of course, like I was telling you, with the capability, you can control all of that. So, a combination of the Mackie's capability of effects, individual channeling, combined with the Rane and the IO workstation, I get back any type of effects I want to use. Obviously, the Rane has built-in effects that you can use in a multiple faceted ways with that. But so that covers both our mixer, our live mixer, and fader port as running Cubase. Let me see. We had a note. The only major cons, again, like I say, is small items. With the studio or the Cubase setup, it's not 100% fully functional. Like, you know, every feature on there is interactive capability integrated with Cubase. Most of the features are. All your volumes are. All your major functions such as solo, mutes, writes, channel select. You know, I can literally, without having to touch the computer, I can put it on channel select, and I can check between my mixer and my switch between the mixer and the audio layout in Cubase. However, if you got a split monitor like we do in the studio, I literally don't need to do that, because I'll have the mixer on one channel and the audio on another channel, so I won't need to switch on that. But say if I was on the road or something like that, I could switch within a single screen. So that's functionality. Some of the pan functions are kind of limited, but you can use that in the DAW. You can change your long as you assign it to each channel. Those are some of the limitations also in the IO workstation. The little nitpickers. If you're going on your channel layout and you're like, you know what, I want to be able to run this. I want to be able to control that volume. Matter of fact, we should be able to, give me 1 second. Let's maximize for a second. We're about to do a studio configuration live. So if it fails, wow. Here we go. All right. So let's see. We're loading up Cubase. And I'm gonna load up a demo. So I'm gonna load up a demo. I'm going to put this in our live session so you can see Cubase from a live point of view. And so I'm going to start everything. So we start everything, and basically in the layout that you're actually looking at, once the channels are selected, now I'm controlling everything with the ioWorkstation. But one of the slight handicaps is you have to select with your mouse certain features that you're going to go into, and then once that's done, then it'll take you into your additional screens. But in short, like I say, in short, that's pretty much some of the limitation that you're going to have on an ioWorkstation. Is you still have to fiddle around here and there with your mouse just a bit. I think it's Studio Live. So yep, Studio Live. Matter of fact, it was right in our right on our live screen. Studio Live is the software that they run, and with Studio Live, I can only give you the theory and what they tell me. This particular device and all their devices is fully integrated. You can literally separate your master channel mixer, even though it's a single fader port on the ioWorkstation. You can separate that channel. Every function on there is functional in the ioWorkstation. From what I've studied, everybody else does not. I think nobody else gets fully integrated function. Everybody else, meaning Ableton, Studio Live, gets about the same functionality as Cubase and Pro Tools, etc. You get the overall general functions of the ioWorkstation. So, who is this for? Again, we are everybody. So, and when I mean that we are everybody, we are literally sound engineers. We are DJs. We are a production company. We are all of the above. So who technically is this for? I would highly say this is so for the DJ that is not running a mixer, which you should run some form of a mixer. At minimum, this would be an alternate solution for that particular DJ, because you never should run your main system, meaning your turntable and your mixer, straight into your speakers. That's just like a audio engineer nightmare no that you should never do. Always have a main control surface control board, or live or hardwired mixer or digital mixer to run your stuff in. That way you have this on a separate platform. You control your output signals, and then you control your house through that mixer. In this case, the setup that we got going on right now, we got the Rane running into the io workstation. So the io workstation is now temporarily replacing what was our Mackie mixer in that case. With that being said, that for the typical DJ that's running that setup, and you can run, we have a box where we have all of our other gear, like our wireless mics and any effects racks, a rack box that you can run to and fro from and to this particular device, the io workstation, and basically have everything set up like you need it. So for the DJ, this is a small piece of budget, $200 roughly, a little bit over with taxes, under $300 easy, that you can run this system. I highly recommend, at minimum, the DJ runs that type of system. That is with a given to say that you are running like I'm running with the Rane. The Rane versus, like, say, a DJ that has a, like, say, an old analog system. You know, you got some turntables, you got a straight analog turntables, and you got an old mixer that's not even digital, that doesn't even hook up USB to Serato. You're running a live sound. You're going to need some kind of digital layout. That way you can take that analog audio. You can still take that analog, that stereo sound, into an io workstation, and you'll be good to go, and you'll get that signal, and then you can translate that signal even with your live mics, which might not be the best audio depending on the type of mixer that you have and stuff like that. But even with your live mics, you'll go into a clean audio station, and you'll be able to clean it up digitally going into your PC or laptop system at that point. So for that DJ, particularly that's running like me in an all digital platform, where both of my platforms work on both systems, and this system integrates with Serato, which means, again, I also have Serato running in the background. That's where our music is running from, this platform. So Serato is running. OBS Studio is running. I just had Cubase running, all simultaneously with these devices integrate well. And that's something to know that is something that is very important to understand. A lot, sometimes you don't hear that in the studio. Like, I see people, I saw a guy doing a review on the io workstation, and he was literally doing a review on the io workstation without the io workstation. We don't like to do reviews like that. That's why we hold back with some of the reviews. We're waiting for Presonus to send us that 64 so we can literally do a physical on hands with that. But we like to show you the equipment, not just in theory. This is what's set up right now. What you are hearing, you are actually hearing Presonus audio. I could bypass this, and we can go into some of the studio's default audio. We could use the Rane as an audio card, where you would be hearing this. Some of our older broadcasters are literally with the Rane running as an audio out, because the Rane's audio, like I say, this is a sound card itself. The Rane system is a sound card itself, and the Rane is like 96 bit maximum. It's crisp, and Rane needs to update a little bit more functionality. Like I said, we'll get into that on a separate review, but just to briefly surface it, since this is what we got sitting in front of us, The Rane, they need to update their functionality a little bit better, because you can literally assign the pads to control, like say your percussions in your DAW. So if you wanted to do that, instead of using the keyboard, you wanted to have that pad feeling, and you didn't want to buy a separate pad device like any of the studio pad gears, the MPC 60, or even some of the lesser just control surface pad surfaces. This can be used as a control pad surface, but it is ridiculous to set up, because the way that they have Rane has the configuration right now, because I don't think it was it's an afterthought. I'm actually probably one of the few people that mentioned it to them, to their techs, what it actually can do, how I configured it in Cubase to get some stuff up. We'll go over that on another video, but overall, this is our at a glance, and really it's almost a detail, both at a glance and a detailed view of the IO workstation as a live mixer and as a studio mixer setup within the studio. All of our other notes will be in the description for those that may have a similar setup, or you may have a exact setup of this Rane system, or you may have a similar setup. You might have a Pioneer system. You might be digitally working with the Pioneer layout. You might have a small DJ setup and not necessarily like the full turntable layout. It's almost the same platform. You're going from that digital stereo signal into your IO workstation, which is running as a mixer. I have the capability of using multiple audio interfaces for our OBS broadcasting. Right now, we are directly broadcasting for purposes of this video, and currently our configuration, now that we're bypassing our Mackie, we're currently broadcasting through the IO workstation, so you can not only see and hear and understand what we're saying about it, that gives our review, but you can also hear what it's doing in regards to the audio. So whatever you're hearing, I'll know when I listen back to this, which pretty much has been crisp for the last couple of videos that we did. So that's how I'm able to comment. So it's pretty much awesome. But that being said, we wrap up the IO workstation. And again, to surfacely run through all of the configurations, we have the Rane 72, MK2, the 12 MK2, all configured to stereo out into the IO workstation, and then from the IO workstation into our desktop or PC, whichever you prefer. You can have multiple facets. You have way more options on a desktop. However, we got a bomb laptop, one of the top Asus that are out, which has been a very reliable laptop also that we're using right now to run this. So with that being said, it's recommended definitely for the DJ, solidly. Now, if you're anything, say you're a studio engineer and you're not using the DJ protocol, and you're using this to bring your keyboard in, it's highly also, probably even more so recommended for that musician that's a keyboardist at heart. And I say a keyboardist at heart because, if you play the keyboards, you can play any instrument pretty much in studio, versus some individuals like myself who actually play multiple instruments, brass instruments, keyboard, drums, percussions, etc. Love having that whole setup where I can go into each instrument as itself, so I don't have to play my keyboard as a drum machine. I can literally play, like, say, a Roland, digital Roland or Yamaha, whatever literally drum setup, digital drum setup, to be able to get the live feel of a drummer. Or I can play a saxophone into a mic, preamped mic, get everything studio, and then I can have that. So it's both recommended for live DJ, live sound like we got set up now. It's also recommended for a basic studio engineer that just needs a stereo input. This is, again, basic sound cards. you getting into real studio engineering where you're recording for other people, it is highly recommended that you get one of the higher end systems that has multi in and multi out, and you can do that many different ways, many different configurations. Again, you can do that with the Studio Live 3264, which is the highest recommended. Not that system by itself, but there are other systems depending on your money. Is where you go, because there are systems that are way beyond Studio Live. You can get into some of the more professional systems, but that's when you're starting to spend like a couple of $100,000 and some other stuff. But for the basic couple of thousand, Studio 64, I think it's about four to 5,000 for the 64. For the 32, I think is kind of 3,000 to 4,000. Those are awesome prices to be able to set up your home studio, because that way you're not buying a whole bunch of separate sound cards. You got this one system, all-in-one system. This is an all-in-one system in a minimum platform, the ioWorkstation. But when you go to, again, your Studio Live, you're talking about, having the capability of 64 tracks, built-in processors, compressor gate limiters, etc. All of that stuff built in, where you literally can do a live mix and also a digital mix and a studio mix at the same time, or at different times, depending on how you're doing. If you're going out live to record, or if you got your full studio fledged, you can plug everything into something like a Studio Live, and you can have all your separate inputs from your drummer, from your keyboard, from your bass player, from the whole band, and then do a full mix at that point. And you can pretty much kill it from there. So that's our
This is the hot
surface and glance review, and we close off from here. Again, recommend it definitely for the DJ, recommend it for the basic studio engineer that just needs to bring stereo inputs, whether it be miking or keyboards and miking, because you can do full production just off of keyboards and your mic. And that's what we have set up, and we can do all of our full productions without having to worry about anything, and all of that can be done internally. So we close off with that. If I left out anything else, I'll mention it in the comments. Go through our comments, because we got a lot of rich pieces of information that's going to be in the comments when it comes to how this is broken down, installation guides, things like that. We sum it up and we close off, and that's pretty much everything for today. And we out. Peace.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.